Hello history friends, and welcome to Cabinet of Curiosity, where we believe that everything is interesting up close. So, today's artifact is this strange metal hat. It's circular and vaguely bowl-shaped with a wide, flat metal brim. On the inside we have some black fabric and rubber webbing to prevent it from rubbing against your tender noggin, and on the sides we have some attachments for a chin strap, which is unfortunately now missing. It actually fits me not badly. Which means either the webbing has shrunk over the last 70 years, or whoever wore this originally had a very small head. This strange metal hat is going to take us back in time 100 years and make us think about important questions like, how do you murder someone from far away? And how do you prevent yourself from being murdered from far away if you are that someone? Fair warning, the following video is going to be talking about war and all that war entails, so it might get
a little dark.
Okay, time to pack up our old kit bags, put on our battle bowlers, and storm the beaches of knowledge! Pew, 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 pew. This helmet was manufactured in 1941, which is the Second World War, but the basic design goes all the way back to 1915 and the beginnings of World War I. One of the most interesting things about World War I is how little people at the beginning of it understood the kind of war it was going to be by the end. The 4 years between 1914 and 1918 revolutionized warfare and introduced dozens of technological advances, including tanks, military aircraft, flamethrowers, poison gas, followed swiftly by the gas mask, aircraft carriers, portable X-ray machines, and the disposable menstrual pad, among many other things. The breakneck speed of innovation also applied to uniforms. For example, in 4 years, the French army went from this to this. As you can see, there were significant changes. If you look closely at the second picture, you'll notice that all of his friends are dead. Sorry, I mean, he's wearing a helmet. And all of his friends are dead. It was a bad war, you guys. Anyways, like our French soldier here, initially soldiers on both sides were equipped with leather or fabric caps, which, while jaunty, provided little or no protection for your bean. This became especially obvious when everyone ended up in trenches and dying of gruesome head wounds at an alarming rate. The French were the first to introduce helmets with the Adrian, a chic little number vaguely similar to a fireman's helmet. The British, being British, looked at the French helmet and decided to make something simultaneously more practical and much less cool, and came up with the Brodie helmet, named after its inventor John Leopold Brodie, which looked very similar to the helmet we have in our collection. Unlike the Adrian, the Brodie helmet can be pressed out of one piece of thick steel, which made it both stronger and more efficient to produce. This was all well and good, but as you can see, it didn't really provide much protection for anything from the ears down. I mean, look at this thing. Could this even stop a bullet? And the answer is nope, and that's okay. What your soup dish was really meant to protect you from was not coming from over there, but from up there. There were a lot more things to worry about on a World War I battlefield than just bullets. We're talking exploding shell and grenade fragments, chunks of flying metal and wood and rock and sometimes people, and of course, shrapnel. Shrapnel is named after British Army officer Lieutenant General Henry Shrapnel. At the end of the 18th century, shrapnel invented a hollow cannonball packed with projectiles and designed to explode in mid-air. Shrapnel's invention went on to horribly maim thousands of people all the way up to the end of the First World War. So let's say I'm sitting in my trench, and there's a shrapnel shell coming in from the other side of no man's land, and it's packed with little tiny round ball bearings or pieces of lead shot, and it has a fuse inside of it, which means that it's time to explode right over my trench and shower me with high-velocity death, which for our purposes will be impersonated by these chickpeas. So as you can see, the shrapnel's hitting me right on the top of the head, but it's actually shedding the chickpeas pretty well. And if I hunch my shoulders, nothing is hitting me on the front of my body. It's a lot better to be hit on the shoulders or the back than it is to be hit on the front. The Brodie was introduced to the trenches in 1915 and became standard issue for every soldier in 1916. Because of its shape, it was called the tin pan hat, wash basin, soup bowl, Tommy helmet, or battle bowler, and it was used by the British and Commonwealth forces all the way through the First World War and up to the beginning of the Second. So if we take another look at the stamp on the inside of our helmet, it reads GSW Mark 1 1941. So GS1 stands for General Steelwares and Aluminum Goods of Canada, and that company manufactured thousands of these for the Department of Pensions and Health. The MK1 means Mark 1, which means that this is a slightly adapted version of the original Brodie design. The Mark I began to be replaced by the Mark II in around 1940, but they were all very similar, except that the Mark II had a slightly better liner on the inside, and it had a non-magnetic rim so that you could use a compass while you were wearing it. The basic design, however, remained the same up until 1944, when the Mk3 or turtle shell was introduced, just in time for D-Day. Most of the soldiers who stormed Juno Beach were equipped with the brand new Mark III, but in this picture we can see a landing craft full of Canadians, mostly wearing Brodie-style helmets very similar to what their dads and uncles wore at Vimy Ridge. After the war, the Brodie family of helmets were used by Canadian Civil Defence for the Cold War and by Canadian forces during the Korean War. They were finally retired in 1960 when they were replaced by the American-style M1. And with that, we've come to the end of our war stories. Thank you so much for watching, and please tune in next week when we're going to go down into the basement and air some dirty laundry.